Okay, guys, we are going to divide a couple whole numbers by decimals. So when I do this, if I were to set this up as a long division problem, my first number goes inside my division box. So I have 8 here, and I'm wondering how many times does 0.25 go into 8? Now, when I am doing long division with decimals, I do not like the number outside here to have a decimal in it, at least not right there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this decimal over 2 places so it's sitting at the back there. Now, if I do it to that number, I also have to do it to this number. So if you're like, well, that doesn't have a decimal, remember there's always one right here. We just don't usually write it. So I'm going to also move that one over twice. If there's no number there, I can just fill it in with zeros. And then I end up with 25 being divided into 800. Now, if you're like, that can't be right, we can't just go moving decimals wherever we want. Well, I'm glad you're asking that. But let me show you why this is okay. So I want you to think, what is 10 divided by 5? If I were to divide that, I would get 2. Now, if I were to move this decimal that's kind of hiding here, move that over once, and also move it in the other one over once, I would end up with 100 divided by 50. And what is 100 divided by 50? Guess what? It's 2. So, as long as I move it on both of them, I'm okay. My answer will be the same. So, let's go ahead and look. I'm going to ask myself now, how many times does 25 go into 80? Well, it goes 3 times. 3 times 25 gives me 75. I go ahead and subtract and end up with 5. Bring that 0 down. How many times does 25 go into 50? Well, it goes twice. 2 times 25 gives me 50. Subtract and I end up with 0. And guess what? 8 divided by 0.25 is 32. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and look at this one. I have 10 divided by 0.32. So again, when I'm dividing this, my 10, the first number, is going to go on the inside. And 0.32 is going to be on the outside. Now, I don't want this guy to have decimals, so I'm going to move that over twice. If I do it there, I also got to do it to the 10. So I am going to end up with 32 being divided into 1,000. This is exciting. All right, so I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 32, it doesn't go into 10, how many times does it go into 100? Well, it goes 3 times. 3 times 32 gives me 96. And when I subtract that, I end up with 4. Now I'm going to bring this next 0 down. How many times does 32 go into 40? Well, it goes once. 1 times 32 gives me 32. Subtract and I get 8. Now, back in like 3rd grade, you would have just done 31 remainder 8, right? But we don't really like to do that anymore. We like to have our answer be a decimal. So I'm going to add a decimal here. I mean, I didn't really add it. It's there. We just don't usually write it. And a 0, okay? Because that doesn't change my number, right? 0.0 is, if I add that, it's the same. But now I can bring that 0 down. And the other thing I need to do is make sure I put that decimal on top in my answer in that spot, okay? So now I'm asking, how many times does 32 go into 80? Well, it goes twice. 2 times 32 gives me 64. And when I subtract that, I end up with 16. Well, I don't want to do remainder 16, so I'm going to add another 0 here. Bring it down. Then I ask myself, how many times does 32 go into 160? I'm going to bring this over. All right. It goes in 5 times. 5 times 32 gives me 160. Yay! I subtract and get 0. So 10 divided by 0.32 is 31.25. All right, I hope that was helpful. If you need some more decimal videos, I will link a playlist for you. Thanks.